goals, my aha was, wow, I have so much to be thankful for. That for me, I'm in a good place in my life. That I feel guilty. That's my aha.
Okay.
That I have so much. I have so many people here that help, that boost, that so many great friends, successful business. Yeah, it'd be great to have that financial freedom that that we all want in the future, and it to continuously, so you aren't living one paycheck to another. But I'm like, wow, I still have so much.
And what would that allow if you had the financial freedom you just talked about?
Well, for me to be able to give to others more.
Okay.
And that's where my goal is that for others to have that great feeling that I have so much.
So guilt, to me, leads to shame. Guilt and shame have no presence in my life. I've given them up on purpose. Guilt works when it gets you to the gym, I suppose. I feel guilty that I told somebody I was going to go and I didn't go. But to me, that's a negative motivator instead of a positive motivator. It's more of a motivation, a push, than a pull. Inspiration is inside. Why not me? Why wouldn't I be a great millionaire? It should be me, because I know I will take care of it. On October 24th, I'm a huge football fan. I might have already told you that. My college team, North Dakota State University, is in the national championship semifinals for the 5th year in a row. On Friday we play, so watch. It's going to be really good. And on the 24th, I was at the home game, and they have a 50-50 raffle. You buy tickets, and then 50% of the whatever they made from the raffle goes to the winner, and 50% goes to the booster club. It's a great fundraiser for them. And I won the 50-50 raffle on the 24th, and I won $21,000.
Wow.
And yeah, and I don't think it's an accident. I don't think it was random, because I really do believe that what you put out there, you get back. And I've really discerned what that means for me. You know, it's not $1 million, but it's a lot in one shot. You know, you guys who sell real estate, you know how that is when you get a big commission check and it happens in big chunks, you know that. So consider that, why not you? Why not you? Why wouldn't you have financial freedom? Why wouldn't it happen for you? Because it's not, guilt makes us small. Guilt brings us down to much less than we think we should be, because it's our ego. You know, and again, because we're a small class, I feel like I'm going off track a little bit, but ego means edging God out, ego. Whether we have a big ego that says, I'm awesome, it's all about me, or whether I have a tiny little ego that says, no, being a martyr is the way it's supposed to be. They do the same thing to who we are, to the is. Even that small ego that we think is noble has the same effect on who we are as that big ego, which we all know arrogance is not a good thing, right? I've lived my whole life as a martyr, thinking it's all good, it's good. No, it's never about me. But then inside I have resentment. And then I feel guilty about the resentment. And so I just decided to give it all up. Get rid of all of that and just be who I'm created to be. Step into that spotlight that has my name on it, not from my ego, but from who I am. He said that. Didn't you hear him say that in the video? I gave up ego. I said, when my plane was going down, I realized that ego isn't serving me. So it needs to be you. Because the world needs what you can provide the world by being financially free. So does that shift for you a little bit?
It did shift. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Diane, you were going to say something?
I was just going to say, in the video also, he said that he realized that he wasn't afraid to die because he's been preparing his whole life to die. And I thought that was really interesting, and it kind of dovetails with the inauthentic fear, like why are we preparing to die as opposed to just preparing to live or just living, right? So that was my aha.
That's awesome. We can live every day of our lives instead of preparing to die. Just live. That's awesome. I love that one. So super great ahas. There's a lot of great stuff here. And this is, as this class is foundational for your real estate business, this first session is foundational for the rest of the day. So it's awesome that you've had these ahas already. So let's jump into the first perspective, which is commit to self-mastery. And you'll see that self-mastery is the possession of great knowledge, and knowledge happens in your head. Knowledge is what you gain when you read something or when somebody tells you something. It's knowledge. Also skills. You'll notice it says knowledge, skills. Skills are what we can get better at by practicing. So knowledge, skills, and habits, which are what happens when we just do things over and over and over. And it's really cool to form habits on purpose rather than habits that just sort of happen because that's the way I've always done it. So that make you the master of you. And high achievers understand this. And it says here, when you commit to achieving self-mastery, you know your goals, which you guys are working on right now. You know your goals. You know your strengths and weaknesses. This is not about being in denial about where we might need some leverage. It's not that it's a bad thing. You just know what you're good at, and you also know where you could use some leverage. And then you know how to work with both your strengths and your weaknesses to achieve your goal. Has anybody read the book Outliers or heard of it? If you're looking for a good book, Outliers, this book right here by Malcolm Gladwell. This is a really cool book, and it kind of boils down to the people who are really successful. He studies them as well. He calls them the outliers. And he found that the people who are really successful at whatever they've chosen to do have 10,000 hours of practice behind them. And one of the examples in the book is the Beatles. And we might think that the Beatles came to America and were an overnight sensation. They were just an overnight success. But they had been spending hours and hours and hours in seedy little bars in Liverpool playing their songs over and over and over. But to them it didn't feel like work because they loved what they were doing. And by the time they got to America, they developed this skill and this I was going to say perfection. I don't mean perfection, but this skill over 10,000 hours. And another example that he gave in the book was Bill Gates. He was playing around with computer stuff in his garage for a long time before he discovered Windows. So that's the key. It's a journey, not an event. What you're up to is a journey, not an event. And you can become masterful when you master yourself first. So it's a mindset. So what we want to do is really put those pieces together to achieve self-mastery. And you'll notice that the goal on page 19 that they're using in this example is prospecting, which just sounds a lot better than lead generation, doesn't it? We just hate that word, lead generation. So instead of generating leads, let's prospect to find clients. And they'll say here, they have the strength and the weakness is identified right here. And once you're aware of those pieces, you can then create a plan to master this skill of prospecting. But it's because you've learned to master yourself first. So let's hear from Bruce Hardy, who has the best accent in all of Keller Williams. If you know him, he is just a cool guy. He's from Australia. And he actually did our ALC clinic in Minnesota that I got to attend. And he's just a fun, cool guy. So let's hear how he has mastered or committed to self-mastery.
G'day, I'm Bruce Hardy, and I'm committing to self-mastery. You know, this is one of the main 6 perspectives that I think we all need to focus on, particularly if we want to take our business and our lives to the highest level. You know, when I was younger and lived in Australia, a good friend of mine was a black belt in karate. He invited me to participate in karate, so I joined. I was a white belt. And after about 6 weeks or so, we were one day practicing sparring. And it was interesting because we were throwing a punch, relatively simple, straightforward punch. We both knew how to do it. The idea was that you would throw the punch and you would stop 2 inches from the other person's face. So my friend, the black belt, would do it, and he would snap, his gi would snap, and I had wind hitting me in the face, and it was just beautiful the way he threw it. Then it was my turn, and I got down and I went whack, and I watched my friend fall to the floor because I hit him instead of stopping 2 inches in front of his face. We both knew how to do it. He'd mastered it, I had not. I will tell you, I brought the same approach to my real estate business. I realized my focus had to be on listings. And what I did was, by focusing on my listing presentation, practicing over and over and over again, I was able to list over 250 homes a year. There's a wonderful saying out there, and that is, amateurs practice to get it right, professionals practice to never get it wrong. My question to you, are you an amateur or are you a professional? Commit to self-mastery.
what did you hear from Bruce that makes some sense to you?
Amateurs practice to whatever he
That
said. Makes sense.
Amateurs practice not to get it wrong, and professionals practice, no, the other way around. The other way around. Practice to get it right, and amateurs or professionals practice never to get it wrong. So self-mastery is all about what I do and what I commit to. Really, I'm going to go back to that word commitment, right? It's about committing to self-mastery, doing whatever it takes, even when the emotion you say it in wears off. And when you're committed to that, you will find that everything else becomes much easier. And we're going to talk about the book, The One Thing, as we go. Has anybody read the book, The One Thing, in this room? If you've not, I'm betting that your Market Center has a copy available for you at some point. Really great book that Gary Keller and Jay Papasan wrote about 2 years ago now. In April, it'll be 2 years. Really great combination of these ideas. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will become easier or unnecessary? And when you can boil things down to that, it sort of comes down to self-mastery, being committed to that. So we've got an activity, an exercise, pages 21 and 23. It's a 2-page exercise. And you'll see on page 13, you wrote down a goal. We're going to transfer that goal, or think about that goal. And here, list 3 obstacles you think might hinder your success. And as you come up with those obstacles, since we are in 2-2-2, you're in great shape here. You can talk to the person sitting next to you about any obstacles that might come up to keep you from achieving that goal. That's what we're working on right now, to bring those to the light. I had a coach, my very first coach I hired in 2002, way before I knew of Keller Williams. And my coach told me that when we're born into this huge mansion. We have everything we could ever want as babies, as little children. And then through the course of our lives, those doors to those rooms get shut by something somebody said and some decision we made. And at some point in our lives, adult lives, we're living in one room in that huge mansion. And she said, as your coach, my job is to open the door, shine the flashlight in and say, have you looked there? Have you looked there? Have you looked there? That's what we're doing here. Have you looked there? This is an opportunity for you to say, what are the obstacles that could keep me from achieving my goal? If I'm not bringing them to the light, then they're sitting there, dormant, waiting. So, have you ever seen the movie Gremlins? Remember the long time ago? Those gremlins hate bright light. That's why we want to bring them to the bright light. So that's what this exercise is all about. So go ahead on your own, come up with the obstacles, and then share with your partner. Pages 21 and 23. Most everybody forgets to turn to page 23, so I'm just reminding you. 21 and 23. First on your own, then with your partner.